Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40K Universe. I am your host, Gershwan, and you are watching When Minds Syndicate. Today we continue talking about the Imperium as we get into the Beast House. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We post Warhammer 40K content every single day, and if you have any suggestions, please comment down below. If you enjoy our content, thank our patrons on Patreon. It's because of them that we can do this. Link in the description if you guys want to support us. But with that said, let's get into 40 facts on the Beast House. The Beast House is the most widespread, unified, and dangerous fight club in the Imperium. The Beast House caters to the rich and poor alike, so long as they pay to see bloodshed and vicious creatures do battle in a variety of fighting pits for sport. In its most common form, such bloody entertainment and the arenas that provide it are quite legal. These are places where you can see bull thorax battle to the death, or Carnoceros rampage against teams of human gladiators upon Scintilia's many red circuses. Yet removed from the garish lights of such public entertainment, the rich and the jaded, not to mention the lowest of the low, crave more desperate, darker, and forbidden pleasures. Their preferred games feature unwilling fighters, innocents stalked for sport, and creatures so vile and dangerous that the imperial authority forbids their use on pain of death. The Beast House is more than a set of physical locations, a trade, or even a loose guild of hunters and dealers of exotic creatures. The hidden truth is that the Beast House is a criminal empire that spans worlds and is founded on blood and pandering to the very worst aspects of human nature. It is not in any true sense a cult, rather it is closer to a criminal network. However, behind this facade, worse things lurk that can be found at the heart of any narco gang or underhive clan. So insidious has the Beast House become that the name and the role of this secretive organization has become ingrained upon the psyches of the Calixian civilization. While local enforcers may raid an unlicensed arena linked to the group, or the Adeptus Arbitus may break up a Xenos creature smuggling ring, the Beast House goes on undiminished. Today there are beast houses on many worlds, but few realize just how far the Beast House has spread through the criminal underbelly and how far its tendrils stretch into the dim stars beyond the sector. The Beast House operates to supply, store, and in some cases even modify or breed creatures for use in arena circuses and bloody sport operations in criminal underworlds. It has been known to provide beasts to private owners, including cults and heretics, for their own dark ends. There is a great deal of money to be made from this illegal trade, and in order to do so, the Beast House acts to control the supply chain, running the whole operation from initial capture of the creature to their distribution. Should a location prove too remote to effectively operate on, the Beast House will trade with those who can, such as those who capture beasts from death worlds. Furthermore, the Beast House sometimes acts as a secret owner or backer of the venues that host its creatures, often taking a hand in incidental activities such as gambling and criminality that surrounds these places. The Beast House protects itself by making extensive use of local intermediaries on the worlds where it operates, and maintains progressive layers of secrecy about its true size and what it actually supplies. This secrecy means that many of those who work for it don't know the full truth, and its assets can be cut loose if faced with sanctions by local law enforcement, or even infiltrated by outsiders, with little danger to other parts of the organization or its true masters, the Beast Slavers. Just how many true members of the Beast House are privy to its inner workings remain unknown to the Holy Ordos, but probably there are no more than a few hundred in total scattered across the Reach, and perhaps that many again operating to acquire savage livestock on numerous far-flung worlds and roving hunting ships. Of these, those who lead the organization and hold the power of life and death over their fellows and their creatures are fewer still. This last group consists of the most secretive and dangerous members of the Beast House. They are the Beast Slavers, Hunt Masters, and Flesh Crafters, who are the true driving force behind the organization. However, all reports to a single mysterious authority whose power and mastery over the Beast House is without question, a man known as Solkarn Senk. The Beast House trains any creature that comes into its hands, using methods of brutality and mental conditioning to increase its willingness to fight and kill on demand, often rendering the unfortunate creature insane or making an already dangerous predator a ravaging and nearly uncontrollable killer. However, for some beast slavers, this is not enough. They resort to surgical and chemical augmentations, creating horrific cyber creatures and fitting unruly beasts with injector rigs to increase their fighting potential while also easing control outside of the arena. Additionally, many creatures, especially those sold for use in public arena fights, are also fitted with a surgically implanted cortex bomb for euthanation in emergencies. However, these implants are crude and can easily be dislodged, damaged, or fail to fire. As a result, they have a 20% chance of failure. It may be even the case that beast slavers will deliberately supply creatures to others with malfunctioning cortex bombs for their own sadistic pleasure. The Beast House will deal in the transportation and smuggling of their illegal Xenos breed, often with rogue traders. In the year 806 of the 41st millennium, a group of the Beast House made trade with Captain Raoul Sendithian, a rogue trader with a charter both ancient and extremely limited in scope, whose vessel, the Pride Ascendant, has recently discovered the remains of the celestial Paragon, lost in the 32nd millennium, and now nothing more than a space hulk. Upon it, his crew encountered an infestation of gene stealers and managed to capture them in cryogenic tubes at great cost. They were sold to the Beast House for millions of thrones, but the rogue trader was captured and interrogated by Inquisitor Felroth Gelt, and the foul Xenos were tracked down and destroyed while still in their cryotubes. All except one, an unaccounted-for gene stealer whose tube was already empty when they had arrived. The Beast House's inner circle is made up of those who directly control outward activities, primarily the capture and trade of illegal and prescribed aliens. Secretly, they also control its hidden layers and beast pits, and assassination, torture, narco dealings, mass murder, and slavery are sidelines they may also indulge in. They are uniformly psychopathic, cruel, and callous individuals, selected for their brutality and skill, rightly feared by those they deal with. A reek of darkness and a lurking feral madness hangs about them that even hardened criminals are wary of. Consequently, few local criminals and gang leaders will cross them. Those who have direct dealings with the Beast House's inner circle may quickly develop grave misgivings about doing so despite the rewards. Conversely, for some, the first inkling of the horrific truth of what the Beast House is are a lure rather than a warning sign, and they soon fall into the depths of what the Beast House has to offer. The outer circle of the Beast House is made up of hired muscle, local criminal groups, and contacts developed through bribery and coercion to serve the Beast House's interests, acting as a legitimate cover, keeping it safe from the authorities or simply buying its service. Made up of largely ignorant intermediaries or individuals bribed or scared enough to keep their suspicion to themselves, the Beast House at this level appears to be no more or less a criminal enterprise dealing in Xenos creatures and illegal blood sports with extensive off-world contacts. Such intermediaries may work for the Beast House without ever knowing they have done so. Others look to enhance their reputation, may well pick up numerous, often contradictory rumors and dark tales that they are more than happy to spread. Of these hirelings and go-betweens, only those who show the uncommon bloodlust and particular talents that the organization favors will be chosen by the Beast House to be drawn further into its ranks. In the last few decades, encounters and reports of dangerous and proscribed Xenos predators appearing in the illegal arenas or the hands of depraved ex-convicts have steadily increased in the sector's core worlds. Further investigation also turned up rashes of disappearances among the poor and the underclass in the areas where a particular Beast House was said to exist. Rumored links of smuggling rings, murders for hire, strange sightings of creatures, and other strange things. Only when Inquisitor Lavan and his retinue disappeared while investigating the Beast House on Feng's world, that the full attention of the Ordo Xenos came to bear on the organization, and it has not liked what it has begun to uncover. Currently, Inquisition-backed elements are conducting a widespread series of covert investigations into the Beast Houses on several worlds, but they were met with little success in penetrating its higher echelons. The Beast House is a set of physical locations as much as it is an organization. Apart from its members, creatures, and public fronts, it also is comprised of dozens of distinct operations centered on hidden facilities and layers where it can keep and modify its creatures and conduct its own private and bloody business. Each of these locations is referred to by the organization simply as the Beast House, adding to the confusion of others and leading many locals to believe that the place they have heard of in dark stories is the true home of the organization. The fact is that no one except Solkarn Sank knows just how many layers there are or just how many serve him. Each Beast House has its own unique and often macabre character and garners its own tales of terror. The Scintillan Beast House is perhaps the most endemic and widespread in the Calic sector. It has contacts with many of the licensed red circuses that operate openly in the fringes of the Scintillan Entertainment Zone, and in the many Underhive trade outposts on Sibyllus and Gunmetal City. They also supply exotic fodder for the arenas and services for certain noble houses and wealthy cartels who desire private entertainment. In addition to this almost public face, darker rumors about the Beast House may be bought for a price from the narco gangers and rack hell gamblers in the obscure dens connected to the trade. The rumor goes that in the sublevels beneath several of the most ill-reputed red circuses and pit fight venues, somewhere in the gore-reeking darkness, hidden Beast House arenas exist where the wealthiest and most depraved secretly travel to indulge their cravings for violent spectacles. The worst of these goes by the whispered name of the Iron Pit, which rumors place it in the deepest and most lawless sector of the Silbius Underhive, where even the narco gangs will not operate. Said to occupy the great space of a long disused reactor vessel, the Iron Pit is a huge three-dimensional maze of gantries, cages, and murderous trap rat runs, into which innocent victims and the most savage xeno creatures and slave fighters are released for the depraved sport of the onlookers. It is said only the most well-connected and powerful can get invites to these events, among them scions of the greatest noble houses, the richest cartel agents, and even officers in the magisteriums and the military. Vast sums are wagered on the results, and for those losers who cannot meet their markers, the pit itself awaits. The world of Fendrid is famous for its ferociousness of its native species and its popularity with hunters and would-be beast slayers from across the sector, in particular the scions of nobility, many of whom treat the largely controlled dangers of Fendrid hunts as a mark of prestige and status. Access to the world is tightly controlled, and removal of any live specimens is strictly prohibited. However, money talks, and hunting licenses can change hands for many thousands of thrones in the courts of Scintilla and the upper echelons of the greater merchant houses. The Beast House, perhaps understandably, has its claws sunk deep into these quasi-level hunts, illegally exporting creatures from Fendrid and providing guides, skill trackers, and protection for many nobles who wish to hunt there. If rumor is to be believed, it also secretly partitions parts of the deadly forest as pre-prepared game reserves. Not all who hunt on Fendrid use or indeed tolerate the Beast House and its hunters, for they have a dark reputation with others of their profession. In particular, many of the Pharaoh natives despise and fear the Beast House, killing its agents when they can. Stories persist that deep within the darkest heart of the steaming equatorial forest of Fendrid, a Beast House lair sits built in the long overgrown ruins of some ancient alien temple. It is said that terrible rites occur there, and that in its catacombs beneath, it is men, not beasts, who are the prey. The hive world of Solomon is a dark place, much given to legend and myth. One such story speaks of the Hell House. It is a myth that seems intimately linked with the shadowy operations of the Beast House, which operates here almost entirely in the shadows of the Underhives, with no official recognition of its existence at all. The so-called Hell House is said to be a vast, decrepit spiral mansion, whose wealthy owners retreated from their polluted world and sealed themselves up within, using their resources to turn their home's lower vaults into a museum for their collection of forbidden Xenos beasts and mutated creatures. Legend has it that as the years passed, the family grew ever more corrupt and insane, and that they drank alien blood and conducted unspeakable experiments to keep themselves young and grant them unnatural powers. They grew increasingly obsessed with furthering their collection and obtaining the most deadly and strange Xenos creatures, so that they in turn could feast on them and grow even more powerful. It is said that in order to further their terrible ends, they gathered feral world killers and murderous beast hunters to provide them with new specimens, eventually leading them to create terrible living golems to abduct victims to keep feeding on their awful collection. The myth of Hell House is but one of a dozen stories along the lines of the Sleepers, the Resurrected, the Great Beast of Solomon, the Night Healer Ripper, and many more that intertwine and point to some dark truth beneath the world's facade of civilization. Stories of the Hell House have been whispered for countless years and are particularly persistent in the smoke levels of Hive Gloriana, where sudden spats of disappearances and the discovery of mutilated bodies are blamed on it. The local enforcers dismiss such assertions as foolish dread nightmare stories and wanton scaremongering, but it is a telling fact that the stories are told and retold in the Geisinks and near where the Beast House organization is rumored to have links to the pit fights and gambling halls. For those investigators with an interest in Hive folklore, it is noteworthy that in the oldest version of the fable, the Hell House is sometimes called the House of Cages, and the name of the head of the decaying family at its heart is Sire Kor Sank, the Beast Father. And those were 40 facts on the Beast House. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, thank our patrons on Patreon. It's because of them that we can do this. Link in the description if you guys want to support us. It's $1 a month. If you can't support us on Patreon, we understand. Simply by liking, commenting, and sharing, it helps out the channel. So thank you ahead of time. If you guys have suggestions for any other topics, please comment down below. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. This is Gershwan with One Mind Syndicate signing out.
Oh, what if you took my freedom?